If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need in one place. In fact, this season of Millennial and Pregnant was produced and hosted on Anchor. Here's what I love about it. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. This made it easier for me to edit my episodes on the go. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hi.
It's been a minute since we've done one of these, so I don't know if you want me to start. You'll start.
Do you want me to start?
I guess I'll start. The only reason why we would be having another show about Millennial and Pregnant is if we were pregnant.
Well, let's be clear.
Again.
Fatima is pregnant.
Yeah, but I guess some people say we are pregnant to include.
But we don't have birth.
No, we don't have birth. It's all about
or
me.
We don't go through birth.
And we both don't get a push present. I guess you get we both get the baby, and then I get another special gift. So yeah, so we're pregnant again, and so we thought, let's do this again.
Let's do it again.
And talk about our experience.
Well, we did do it again.
Okay. Your mom is probably listening to this right now.
That was a bad joke.
Your dad, sorry, Paul. Sorry, Tammy.
It's 2 times. That's it. So, okay. 1. Okay. Okay.
Maybe we can end up cutting
Let's
that. We'll see. We'll fill it out for a little bit. So, yeah, we're super excited to be doing this again, and sharing our experience, recapping kind of our journey.
Mm-hmm. We're going to walk you through every week of Fatima's pregnancy.
In a more condensed, not every single week. It won't be that many episodes. It will not be 40 episodes. But yes, in every little stage of it. So I guess we could start talking about the pregnancy tests.
Yeah, let's start there. That's a good idea.
So I would say this was intentional. So, when you know that, you're constantly looking for something versus, from our first one, I was like, oh, we're at dinner, our anniversary dinner. And I'm like, well, if I, don't get my period now, then I think we need to take a test. But here, we knew. And I think I was like a good week or so, maybe 2 weeks in, but we were moving at the same time. I was finishing up a busy time at work. Mm-hmm. And then there was just overall nervousness of taking the test. So we pushed it. I pushed it a little bit longer. And then one day I just randomly went down to CVS and picked up a test and was and even then I did not take it right away. I don't know what was wrong with me. But did you buy 10 of them again? Nope.
Oh.
I knew where to go. So ladies, it's in the section where you have your period pads and tampons and all that other good stuff, and then all the way at the corner it's oh, you missed it, maybe you should buy one of these too. So I got it. I knew what I wanted, although funny story, when I was in CVS, and it's right by the end of the aisle is right by the pharmacy, and people were lined up in the aisle waiting to go to the pharmacy. So I'm like, okay, I can say, excuse me, or I can just wait, thinking that the line's going to go a little bit quicker, but there might have been just someone who's really slow, who's helping people with their prescriptions. But I probably waited a good 5 minutes or so because I didn't want to step in front of someone, and it's still, keeping the social distance. And then I was like, F it, I don't have all day for this. So in between this man and guy, I just excuse me, and I knew exactly what to get. It was seamless. I didn't feel like I needed to buy M&Ms or anything to hide it. I was just like, whatever, I got this.
Your hands weren't shaking. You didn't feel
my
like
hands
you were
wasn't shaking. I knew it was perfect. I was experienced. So yeah, I bought the test, and I waited maybe almost a week to take it, and then finally I took it, and I was like, okay, I don't even know how I told you.
I don't know. But I
can't even
think
remember.
that's so sad.
I cannot remember how I told Brian, but he did not. He seemed excited. He did not run away to the bathroom for several moments to compose himself. So that is the difference between planning versus having too many margaritas.
I want to say you told me and you were just like, yeah, it says pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, this one, you said the other day you knew exactly when my last day, the first day of my last period was. And I was like, what? Like, how do you know that? I was like, I don't even know. I was like, I turned to Brian. I'm like, how many weeks am I? Because I forget. And you're like, well, if your last period was blah, 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 then you're X weeks. And I was like, oh, yeah, that is my last period. Because I do track those in the calendar. Just to make sure I'm regular, even when we weren't trying, I'm just like, what's going on with my body. That kind of helps me determine it. So finally took the test, told you, I don't even think I took the second one. I just was like, yep, this is it. Booked my appointment with my same doctor from before, even though we moved, and it's now a train ride and not a subway train ride to get there.
Got those adult train rides.
Yeah, the really expensive ones. So I just felt, and we can talk about this more in later episodes, but I just felt comfortable going to a similar doctor, especially, the whole process is just so robust and you just want to be with someone that you've done this with before. So I didn't mind the commute to go over there. And then he confirmed it through the blood work and through... No, I had to come back a week later to do the ultrasound, or the sonogram. But then he confirmed it again there. Each time I would just like kind of hold my breath every time. Just be like, is it there? Are they there? I shouldn't say it. But yeah, that was the pregnancy test. So it was really very adult of us. We were just like, okay, yeah. We got the job done. Yeah. We had a mission and we succeeded.
Accomplished it.
Yeah, we accomplished it. Good job. And so we're just like, okay, like, the Virgos in us started to think and churn about all the things that we need to do and figure out, blah, 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 blah. But then, like, I guess, why do this show again is the big thing. I think
after you've heard from us from the first time.
Yeah. I think this is great because as much as I want to have a pregnancy diary or just be good with writing things daily down, I am terrible at it. So this podcast actually was great because things I didn't remember from the pregnancy, I was able to listen to it. But just
you're re-listening season 1?
I did re-listen to it. Yeah.
That's so nice.
But we got some
Look at that. We made you a useful product.
I know.
To go back to.
Sometimes I cringed at the way I sound, but that's okay. Because in your head, you really do think you sound different than what you do. And then you listen to yourself, you're like, wow, that's different. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of annoying.
No, you're
sometimes. But we got some feedback from our friends and family who was listening.
And listeners. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think that it was, for the most part,
very positive.
Yeah, very positive. Even the ones that were...
just like the test.
But Brian has gotten more intense with his dad jokes, so we're just gonna breeze by that. But like the feedback was really positive. I think people thought it was entertaining, and some people felt it was really helpful too. Like I had a coworker, shout out to Colleen, who actually like messaged me and was like, I bought the pregnancy pillow that you had, breastfeeding pillow you suggested, especially for like first time amateurs. Like I gotta look at the name again. This was the pillow. I still have it.
It's so comfortable.
And she was like, I purchased it and I don't know what I would do without it. Like I followed up with her after she gave birth to her daughter, and she's like, it's great. So when you just, if we can just touch one person, then we've done our job, right? So that was really cool to hear that people were taking our advice. So hopefully, and if you decide not to and it's just for entertainment, that's great too.
Yeah, we had a lot of our followers commented on the podcast and reached out and said, thank you for your insight and overall entertaining nature of season 1 and how insightful it was and how they love following the journey. So
The other thing was just your involvement too. People were like, most of the podcasts around pregnancy was just the woman talking about it. So you very much going through it with me, although not as much and intensely.
I get acid reflux sometimes. I do.
Yeah, and he says that he has cravings as well. But, so you're getting the hormones, you're definitely getting the brunt of that one. Sorry about it. That's a perfect segue to what's different. I feel like I am way more hormonal, or at least I'm more aware. Maybe I'm just older and wiser. Mm-hmm. And I'm more aware of when I'm just like, you are getting on my effing nerves. And I'm like, stop chewing so loudly. I think I said it the other day, and you were like, how would you like me to chew? And I was like, did he forget I was pregnant? Because I have an issue already with chewing, and it's intensified. Like, he cannot have chips around me because I want to kill him, but I would love him to see his child be born. So that's, I just blast my music in my head, on my headphones, or I step out of the room. I think when towards the end of the pregnancy, I don't know if you remember the first pregnancy, literally the Friday before I was due, and I like pretty much yelled at you and told you to go into the other room to finish your dinner because I was like, you're chewing so loud.
I know. I remember.
That I'm at that level times like 10 sometimes, where I'm just like, yo, I'm like, one of us gotta go, one of us gotta change, something's gotta happen, something's gotta give, because I can't live through this anymore.
And the non-pregnant person who has to change.
I just have these really intense moments and feelings to things, but I realize it.
That's good. That's a good first step in this pregnancy, is that you are self-aware of how hormonal you
and I communicate it.
Mm-hmm. But you don't care.
I don't really care. No, I don't really care. So just like today, I won't even get into it because I'll probably get so upset about talking about this story. But I told my friend who I work with also, Jean, about how one time someone gave me the wrong bagel. And I was actually really nice about it. But Brian's memory of the moment is very different from my memory of it, where he says I was very dramatic about receiving a sesame seed bagel, which, side conversation, nobody orders a sesame seed bagel. I don't even know why they make them. Sorry to anyone who that might be your favorite bagel. We need to discuss that and maybe what issues you have around flavor. But, the only sesame bagel I want is on an everything bagel, like the seeds on the everything bagel, because it doesn't add anything else besides, like, it looks pretty. It's really great for a photo, but that is about it. It does not add anything. That is my personal opinion, and I would never order one. Brian's memory of me just like shaming the person at the bagel store is a lot different. I just was like, I would just never. I said it nicely. I said, I don't think I would. I've never ordered a sesame seed bagel.
No.
In my life.
No. You looked at the guy and you open up the bagel and you show him and you were like, I would never order
see?
a sesame seed
You guys have
bagel.
never heard me say it that way. The way he just said, never. No.
Well, you were hormonal.
Okay.
And maybe you were feeling a little extra emotional because you didn't get what you wanted and you were upset. Is Fatima upset?
Do I look like your child? Do you have to talk to me like that? But I would say that's
never order.
I would say that's we're going to change the subject. I would say that was probably one of my biggest differences from this experience. But then also I experienced morning sickness for a good part of the first trimester, which was miserable. I think I only got sick with the first pregnancy like maybe one time, and it was because I realized I couldn't have coffee anymore. Anything like Brian making scrambled eggs, like just the smell of it, or just waking up and drinking water before I had something to eat, because whatever reason my stomach needs like food before it processes water and beverages. I would be throwing up water. It was horrible. And for thankfully the peak of that was when work was slowed down and I was able to just like step away for a little bit. But trying to unpack and take care of a 3-year-old kid was
And yourself
was a challenge. So I am over that hump, and hopefully it doesn't come back, because there's always a possibility apparently it comes back.
Can it really come back?
It can come back, and I really just feel really bad. Like, I don't think people understand. I think it was like Kate Middleton who would throw up all the time. Like, I don't think you guys really understand how miserable that is. And I was going to share something that might be like too TMI, but like after you've had a child and then you're throwing up, let's just say like your just things are not as they were before. So I had a lot of accidents during that time. Luckily, it was just in the morning. I did have the stereotypical morning time. And I just think it was just like either not eating or processing stuff from before, but I don't know. It was bad. I would say that was probably another really big thing that happened, or different experience. I would say those are the two big things. Other than that, it's been pretty much the same.
Yeah. Very, very hormonal, and
you don't have to like emphasize on that. And the showing part is,
that's a really good.
I was showing a lot sooner. And me being me, I like researching everything, credible researches, sources. Like, don't just take whatever you see online. But it made sense to me too. Like, your uterus and everything else has stressed out before, so you might show a little bit sooner. So I was finding it very hard to hide anything in the beginning, because I also had a lot of bloating. And then you have like 2 things to eat. By the end of the day, I always look at least like an extra month pregnant more at the end of the day. And I'm like, wait, what's happening here? So I always had to be conscious, and, no nighttime events or anything like that. I had to reschedule some get-togethers with people. Good thing there's always an excuse of a child in a pandemic. So that's always helpful. So
and and it's the summertime. We can wear flowy shirts. And
flowy shirts was nice. Although having the first part of my pregnancy during like the winter and fall was so much easier, because sweaters by default, I think I have really skinky in that look. I'm like, wow, I don't wear any clothes during summer. That was the thing that I realized. I'm like, what? Like there's nothing, there's no fabric to these things. I had like 2 flowy shirts. So that was on rotation, or just a ton of my t-shirts. I just wore t-shirts. I was like, well, I'm going to make this t-shirt look good. Was kind of my strategy. So showing, hormonal, yes, and morning sickness were some of the big experiences that we've had, or that I've experienced, different from the first pregnancy.
And I feel like there was one time when you were really getting really sick with your morning sickness, that you almost made our son puke.
Yes, I did. He does go, oh my God, I remember that. I was like, oh my God, poor Liam. He just was like, I was like, are you okay? And you had to like take him out of the room.
I scooped him up and we ran away, because when I'd hear you throw up, I would start to feel like I'm
like, okay, he's definitely his father's son. We do not need a Maury test to be like, you are the father, because that experience, I was like, by far, I was like, this is Brian right here standing. I'm like, here I am actually throwing up, and you guys are like with the reflexes, like, excuse me.
It really was. Because as I was coming to scoop him up, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna puke.
It wasn't even that serious. It was never like even. I always made it to the toilet. It was never.
Oh, I know. No, you always made it. It was just you almost made Liam and I puke, because of when I hear that sound, I feel like I have to puke.
Then I'm like, oh, you're really becoming like this little person.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good to see. And
that's the other reason why we wanted to do this, is to go through a pregnancy when you already have a kid, and how that may or may not be different from the first time. The first time, I mean, you're just trying to sleep, and now it's like, okay, you're pregnant, and now you have a kid.
I took
to
a
worry
lot of naps during Liam's naps. Like I would just pass out in the room, either on the floor. I've moved to his toddler bed because the floor is just not. I'm not with it anymore. My hips hurt also kind of sooner than they did before. I'm just thinking of all the things. I'm like, everything is the same. I just think I feel everything a lot more and earlier than I did before. Nothing different, just sooner in the process. I probably should stretch more. I was able to work out a little bit more during the first time, and I was really, really good with stretching, doing the squats. This time, not so much. I was also really, really tired.
Yeah, you were like a zombie. That's a good difference. You weren't as much of a zombie.
I don't have a choice to be a zombie. Like I would come home after work.
Choice.
I would come home after work and sit on the couch. Brian and I was supposed to be watching some show.
Probably Scandal or something.
I would wake up and be like, oh, like how was the show? I have to end up
3 hours later.
Yeah, I would have to end up watching it the next day. That also brings me back to the day that I was like trying to anticipate telling you, and I cooked you your favorite meal, and we watched Hocus Pocus, and I passed out and fell asleep, and then I'm like, great, it's really late, I can't go to bed, we're having this news, and then I told you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you slept that night, but I slept after.
I don't think I did.
Like, what is gonna happen? We made it. 3 years later.
It's wild. It's
almost 4 years later.
Almost
I'm telling
4
you.
years. Almost 4 years, like in another month or two. Another month. Or two. I guess October. End of September.
I told you in
early
September.
October. Yeah. Wow.
So it's almost been 4 years since you found out. So, and look at you now. You wanted to do it again.
You just brought that back.
The child, like bringing a child to.
Oh,
everyone knows how a child is made. We don't have to. We don't tell them that.
Talk about it. It's not that kind of show.
We don't. Brian's turning extremely red.
We have a lot of, I think this will be really fun to hear from you over the next so many
I'm a
weeks.
fun person.
And I get to let everyone know how you're doing. And, just us talking currently in our master closet.
It's not that big. Don't even have people thinking like, oh, they living it up. It's
our knees.
It's just enough. It's just enough space because,
it's quiet.
And
I don't want to wake anyone up.
Slightly claustrophobic, but it's fine.
It's whatever.
That's all for this episode, but make sure you're following the show so you know when the next episode is out.
Check out our website, liliesandloafers.com, for cooking and DIY inspiration and more updates from our growing family.
Millennial and Pregnant is a Lilies and Loafers original podcast. It's hosted by me, Fatima.
And me, Brian. We both put our hands on our chest. Why is that? Original music by Purple Planet. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.